Welcome to the NonProfit Voice, a podcast series brought to you by NonProfit Pro, the go-to resource for nonprofit management and strategy. In each episode, we're going to sit down with leaders of nonprofit organizations, the people responsible for paving the way for our sector, along with key technology strategy partners who are transforming our industry. Here at the NonProfit Voice, we'll have refreshing conversations in which we will all learn more about the convergence of nonprofit and technology. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website to find more episodes of the NonProfit Voice. And you can download all of the NonProfit Voice episodes on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify. We will have all the links down below. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the NonProfit Voice. I'm Nhu Te, Editor-in-Chief of NonProfit Pro, and I will be your host for today's episode. All right, so we're in for a special treat today because we have three outstanding guests on the line with me today. So please join me in welcoming Paul Spence, VP of Development at City Gospel Mission, Scott Marshall, Director of Development and Communications at Feeding America, Eastern Wisconsin, and Jason Wood, VP of TrueSense Marketing. Welcome to the show, guys. How is everybody doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Hanging in there.
Yeah.
As we all are. Lovely. All right, so before we jump into today's discussion, let's give our audience a brief introduction of everyone on the line. They already know me, so let's start with Paul. Tell us your background, how you found yourself at City Gospel Mission, and of course, more about the organization.
Yeah, I found myself here in a roundabout way. So I left college being a teaching tennis professional, worked in a Christian publishing company for a while, and then a sweet lady that I had an acquaintance with was on a board at a local mission, and she said, "You'd be a great executive director." And I said, well, let me check it out. I don't know anything about nonprofit, and I've packed food boxes once in my life, but visited the mission, fell in love with it, saw a lot of need for that mission. So I started as an executive director at a homeless mission in Nebraska for 9 years. And then after 9 years being executive director, I got a call from a headhunter looking for a vice president of development for City Gospel Mission in Cincinnati. And I had fallen in love with fundraising and donor development at that point, and said I'd love to check it out. My wife has always wanted to leave Nebraska, so we left 14 years ago for City Gospel Mission in Cincinnati, and I've been here now in this seat, in this chair for 14 years and love it. We are a homeless shelter that serves 74 men with the emergency shelter and a diner that serves meals every day to the community. A men's and women's recovery program, a job and career development center, and we serve about 3,500 at-risk kids through youth programs every year, through all kinds of great programs, including a Princess Ballet, free ballet lessons for at-risk girls in poverty.
Yeah, and even though your journey was a little windy, I feel like that's a very common story for people who find themselves in nonprofits, and I love to hear those. Awesome. So Scott, tell us about your journey.
I can't agree more that everybody in nonprofit, I feel like, had a long and windy journey. I'm also long and windy with my journey. Grew up, born and bred in Milwaukee, still here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I went to school to be a morning show host on the radio. I desperately wanted to work in radio. So actually the first half of my career was working in radio. I did not make it to the morning shows, but I did end up working in marketing and promotion for a radio group here in Milwaukee. I did get to do some overnights on weekends, and that's probably as good as I deserve to be on, because I was not a good DJ. But I did work in radio for a long time, loved it. Once you're in radio, it's always in your blood. But in 2009, my job was eliminated. Sadly, in 2008, 2009, a lot of people ran into that. And I kind of fell backwards into working at a nonprofit because my friends who worked at the Wisconsin State Fair reached out to me the week I got let go and said, "Did you know there's an opening at this local food bank? We think you'd be a great director of development." And I'd never even thought about working at a nonprofit. And I kind of was a little skeptical, but I looked into it and I reached out. And the more I was talking to them, the more I saw how much of a intersection of my past skill set and experience really matched with what they needed me to do, which so much of any business is really relationships. And making sure to promote what you do and getting the word out and getting people active and wanting to be engaged in what you do. It helped a lot with the mission-centric part of it, that I grew up in a food insecure household. I didn't really know that at the time, because my mom did an amazing job with myself and my brother kind of shielding us from that. But looking back, you see so many different instances where you're like, wait a second, we were poor. And and bless my mom that she did a really great job, that we really didn't know too much of a difference. So my heart is in feeding the hungry, and the connection between the ability to be able to create relationships and combine people's passion to support their community, and to be able to feed hungry people. It just kind of really hand in glove. And honestly, I couldn't see myself doing anything other than working in nonprofits and ideally feeding the hungry moving forward.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story. I love it. Clearly it's personal for you because you've lived through it. And so now you want to give back to those who are experiencing the same things you might have. All right, great. So we have a tennis instructor and a radio DJ on the line. That is awesome. All right, Jason, let's hear it.
Yeah, hard to top those two, right?
Exactly.
Let's see. After I got out of the military, I was working for a small startup in terms of web development programming back in the mid-90s, and none of us were very good at sales. And as such, we didn't make it as millionaires, billionaires, but what we did have was a nice network of individuals we would work across, and a lot of time on our hands. And I had some family members involved with the Salvation Army in New Jersey when 9/11 happened, and they reached out and said, we need some help with our website presence. We need some help with processing applications for people that need support and assistance right now. And that led into some work, but also me making some personal connections with their social service team members. And what happened was they were looking for someone to help with computer labs around the state of New Jersey in some of their cities where they served. And I said, I don't know the first thing about computers, printers, and making the networks work, but I'm willing to learn, and I would love to work with you and give a little back. And so for 3 years, I drove around the state, got to meet individuals working in after-school programs, and did all that I could to help get these computer labs up and running and supporting them and the young people. And needless to say, I was hooked, which led into a job working with the Salvation Army's national headquarters in the Washington, D.C. area. And it evolved into all digital communications, online fundraising, probably coming back to where my background and skill set was. But from a fundraising and donor perspective, I was fully invested and hooked at that point. After a short stint with Save the Children, the friends that I have at TrueSense Marketing asked if I'd want to come and work with them and really align myself with all the nonprofits they serve. And so after coming home one night, I said to my wife, hey, do you want to go to Pittsburgh? And after a little bit of a discussion, we found ourselves in Pittsburgh. So here we are, and I am extremely fortunate. And like Scott said, it's hard to picture myself doing anything but working either in or for nonprofits.
Yeah, I feel like once you find yourself in this role, in this sector, it's very hard to leave because you guys are doing such great work and such amazing stories from all three of you guys. Mine is less exciting. I went to school for English and my master's in publication management. And before I was in this role, I worked as a managing editor for an orthopedics magazine. And before that, I was working at an ophthalmology magazine. So I was working at medical. And this position opened up in my company. And so I went for it. And, I've been here ever since. And I'm pretty young and I'm pretty new to the space. I've been in here for about 3 years. But it's been such an amazing experience. I'm meeting so many influential people and learning about organizations that are making such a incredible difference in the world. So it's been a lot of fun. So I agree with you. It's once you're in here, you can't imagine yourself doing anything else. All right, so it looks like we have a great group of experts with a lot of extensive expertise on the line today. So it's going to be a really fun conversation. We're here to talk about giving days. So there's been a rise in popularity and participation over the years, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with the most popular giving day, Giving Tuesday. And with everything going on right now in the world, I'm sure everyone has heard about Giving Tuesday Now, which happened back on May 5th. But what many don't know is that there was another Giving Day to aid the economic impacts of COVID-19. And that was on April 21st, and that was Give from Home Day. And we'll talk about that more when we get into it. And all this to say, and to preface that we're going to talk about giving days, what they are, what you should know about them, how you should prepare, and most importantly, whether or not it's a good idea for your nonprofit to participate. All right, so with that said, let's dive into today's questions. And so the first question, and Scott, I'd love you to lead here. Let's talk about giving days. What are they, and how they fit into a nonprofit's fundraising strategy?
Yeah, well, a giving day is really when a nonprofit identifies one specific day and then tries to drive donations towards that day by creating a reason why. Kind of like to get into the why and fundraising strategy. I'd say all nonprofits every day they'd like to be a giving day. But realistically, with the capacity of donors, with donor fatigue, with even just simply becoming wallpaper, you have to be really thoughtful about when you choose to participate or launch your own giving day. So what you have to do, first of all, identify is why should somebody stop what they're doing, focus on this day, and choose to give to this organization on this day. There's kind of a very traditional giving day called Giving Tuesday. That happens the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving every year, which almost most nonprofits participate in. So that's kind of a usual, almost giving holiday. So talking about the day that we just recently participated in, we had to figure out kind of why now, why is it important? How can we create enough of a compelling either story or reason for either our donors who usually give to us or potentially new donors to want to give to us on this day. And so the way it fit really into our nonprofit strategy this time was with COVID-19, food banks were especially hit hard, much less product coming through the door, much higher need out there. So that's kind of a very compelling why that's mission centric. For us, over and above that as a why and being able to direct people towards that day, we identified and secured a matching donor. That's kind of a very usual best practice with a giving day. Another reason to compel a donor to make a second gift, to make a first gift, or to make a larger gift is to identify a matching donor. And that is another way to kind of drive that day. The other reason to do a giving day, honestly, is just kind of something to point people towards. Since we're fundraising on such a regular basis, it's kind of like a new coat of paint or something like that makes you look different for a minute. So having its own logo, having its own look, having a slightly specific message or a fun name like Give from Home Day, it's a reason for media to support you. It's something to point at when you're promoting it. It's something to sell to a sponsor, which was kind of a success story for us because we had one of many of our events got canceled and the title sponsor. We were not going to receive that budgeted money, but Give from Home Day gave us an opportunity to sell a matching sponsorship to this donor, and they agreed to it. So we were able to save that money, then use that money to compel the public to give. So a lot of reasons to do a giving day. Obviously needs to be thoughtfully done and should not be done that often, But if you do it with a very compelling why, a reason for people to focus on it, a reason for people to help promote it and share it, whether it's media or whether it's folks on their own being an advocate on social media, etc. That's why we participated. That's why we do these every so often.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned there has to be a compelling why. We've talked about that a lot on this podcast, just about any initiative you do, like why, like setting the stage of why the donor should, donate to your cause, like what makes you so different is really, really important. And another thing about giving days is that I think it's just a great way to mobilize the community around this cause. So I love what you said. Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Scott. One of the other things that I think is part and parcel to this is and this is a popular term we're hearing the last few days, the herd mentality, or better yet, a social proof type of environment that giving days really lend themselves to. And so it's the idea, again, that donors are seeing a very similar campaign, a similar appeal, and recognizing and being made aware that others like them are participating in this same type of day or event. So leveraging that, driving that groundswell across your ranks, and then also across the potential new donors, or lifting exposure into the work that you do. I think there's tremendous value and benefit in that social proof example with a day of type of event.
Yeah, the giving days are great because it kind of funnels your messaging into one day, and you're able to kind of steer everybody to an excitement that they can do together. They can together you can have a bigger impact. Together we can be community. It allows an opportunity to spread the word that isn't under normal messaging. We're predominantly known for food and shelter, and so we can talk about hot meals and the cost of a meal and all that stuff, but the hashtag Give From Home Day or the hashtag Giving Tuesday gives a new and unique way to kind of spread the word and gather some excitement. Well, what is this hashtag Give From Home Day? It also allows nonprofits to create multi-channel efforts around one effort and one focus. And so that's always nice to be able to do, a message on your homepage and banner ads and email script and compelling pictures that are all the same. So creating that kind of multi-channel effort kind of boosts the awareness and boosts the excitement, and it increases the reach as well for that day.
Awesome. And you guys touched on, Give From Home Day. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit more. So TrueSense hosted Give From Home Day, like I mentioned earlier. It was on April 21st. So Jason, tell us about that process and some of the results you saw from the participating nonprofits.
Yeah, sure. This was a very quick event for us, and really started with, like most of us, watching the news, concerned with what was taking place, both economically and from a health perspective, and picking up on two things all at once, seeing the talk about the stimulus, as well as I read an article, about hundreds and thousands of events being canceled. And so the peer-to-peer background kicked in, and you just think about the millions of dollars that were really put at risk across all nonprofits, and thinking in terms of this is bigger than just direct response donors. This is in some cases the financial support that nonprofits rely on to serve those they serve. And timing from a stimulus perspective, I had seen some some blogs, some Reddits, some just trending topics. Hey, where can I give money back? Where can I donate some of this? And so we started almost immediately as a leadership group and a small execution team to think about, hey, how can we help our clients who are struggling with a lack of event or gala type of revenue that they rly on? And rather than sending additional emails or sending additional inserts, we felt like we had that covered, but was there something that we could do to lift up that groundswell and generate awareness for the impact? And it led into Gift from Home Day, which was then a chance for us to say, okay, what can we do that we can roll across all of our clients, that we can actually pull it off? Because we felt like it was a very tight window. We wanted to time up with when stimulus would impact those receiving direct deposits. Again, not for the millions of Americans who need it, but for the millions of Americans who wanted to give back. So we wanted to time up to that. So it put a time crunch on us. And then in order to pull that off, really talking as a leadership group to say, well, can we just do a little bit more right now? Can we level our messaging and our impact and our approach for all of our clients, and then everybody else? How can we roll this out? What do nonprofits need to be successful for this? And so it led into, well, there's one wonderful example, which is Giving Tuesday. What do we know that's successful every year, and the growth they've had these last 8-9 years with nonprofits around the world? What are the elements that we feel nonprofits would want to take advantage? And then we really focused in on, hey, we were going to be spending March, April, and May traveling around the country, participating in various conferences and events, and let's turn around and invest that into all of these assets and work with Scott and Paul and others to say, how can we help you? How can we put this in place? Are there things that you feel will allow you to take this message beyond just sending a simple email, or beyond just doing a direct mail insert? And that's really what we thought about. What was fun was working in a very small group, and then allowing our group members to work throughout the agency and with all of our clients to effectively go from some email discussions about stimulus timing and lack of events to an actual Gift from Home Day in less than a month was something that just I'm very proud of. I know we're all very pleased with. And then results-wise, we had 250 nonprofits that we're aware of jump on board with the name, the logo. It's purposely done so it's not about any one of us, but it's about the collective. And then seeing that close to 1.3 million was raised around the 250 nonprofits participating. Very excited and pleased, and even just the growth in the earned media that a number of our clients and other nonprofits were able to leverage. Seeing some TV spots from Tulsa, Oklahoma that have the Salvation Army and Ronald McDonald and Meals on Wheels all collectively being referred to and spoken to from their local TV station, and just the need and what they're dealing with was just tremendous. That was the goal. Could we lift up the entire community so that those that we work with would benefit, but everybody could take advantage of it?
Yeah. What a phenomenal job. And first, congratulations. When I away was, you guys put that together very quickly. And obviously you guys did a very good job at marketing it and mobilizing people to, come together to raise money and donate to help people in need. And that's great. But I'm very interested in hearing your kind of process and your experience, Paul.
Yeah, for us, for City Gospel Mission in Cincinnati, we, on one hand, we have these really successful luncheon tours that happen quarterly, and obviously that got canceled real quick. We do a quarterly poverty training as also, and so we get a lot of people to our campus. We get a lot of people touring, and through that, obviously, drives donations. And so we don't have that, and so we've got this gap. But we also have this great story. In order to social distance appropriately, the men's shelter, we moved half of our guys into a hotel. And so we've got this great story to tell. And hashtag Give From Home Day really allowed us an opportunity to do that and tell that story. We were able to secure a couple matching gifts, and when we told the donors what we were doing, there were a lot of people that loved the idea and said that they would give to the match. And so we kind of easy to warm up our donors and tell them, give them an idea of what was coming. And then we went to work on what is our story, what is our why, how many channels are we going to put this in, and how can we really get a wide message out. And so beyond the donations coming in was just the awareness. Hey, we're still open and we're still serving and we're on the front lines. And we had we do a survey every year in August that measures our awareness compared to like other nonprofits in the area. And I'm really interested to see, this August, what that awareness is like, because there's a lot of nonprofits that unfortunately stuck a COVID message on their website and kind of got quiet. And this was one opportunity for us not to be quiet and to tell people, hey, we're still at work here and we need you. We need your support. When this was announced, I loved the timing of it. And then shortly after, the hashtag Giving Tuesday was announced for May 5th. And so we thought about how can we leverage both? They're only 2 weeks apart. We can't really ask our donors. We don't want to fatigue them or ask too much, annoy them, anger them. And so what we decided was, we'll go all in on a hashtag Give From Home Day. And then we'll come back around on Giving Tuesday on May 5th and ask everybody to tell others, you gave so generously on hashtag Give From Home Day. Thank you. Your support is very valued. Here's another opportunity. And all we're asking is for you to tell others. This is another giving day. We don't want you to give. We just want you to help us spread the word. And so it was a different message for Giving Tuesday. And it was a way for us to leverage both giving days.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. And I think that's important to point out that you guys didn't make two asks. And we had a Giving Day conversation earlier in this podcast when we talked about how to communicate with donors and supporters on days like Giving Tuesday and Give From Home. And biggest takeaway is that I know this is a hard time for a lot of people financially, but if you want to participate in a Giving Day, it does not have to be for money. It could be cultivation. It could be just opening up communication with them and asking how they are, how they're dealing with things. And I think that is most important. So great job, Paul. Scott, let's hear it.
Yeah, a little savvy, but hopefully I can add a little bit more, add a little bit more, point of view on this. But at Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin, with the crisis hitting, we were seeing that there was that interest in supporting the community from individuals, which you'll see for the most part. Giving days are obviously targeted towards individuals, so we were seeing a great appetite for that. So when TrueSense reached out and they kind of had a nice package and sent an email saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this, we want to talk to you about it. I think I got one page in and I wrote back and I said, we're in, let's make the call about the how, because I thought the idea strategically made a lot of sense. We had a story to tell about the crisis. The name of it, I think, was fantastic. Give From Home Day, it really spoke to the lifestyle of really the entire country. Give From Home Day, it tells you exactly what you're doing. It makes you feel like, hey, that's me. And one of the things that we always try to do is remove barriers between a person who's interested in helping and them actually helping. It's surprising how often people say, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And something that says, okay, on this day, give from home, that really, I mean, that tells it all. It didn't hurt that there already was a package with a nice logo and a lot of other information that we could kind of really utilize immediately on our website and on social media. The other thing strategically I really liked about it was, I hate to say this competitively, I kind of don't hate to say it, but it's a week before Giving Tuesday now. There was going to be that second Giving Tuesday, and kind of getting a week ahead of the Giving Tuesday that was kind of created to support nonprofits during this crisis. Being able to get a different Giving Day out a week beforehand, I think strategically was very smart. Similar to what Paul said, we chose not to actively participate in Giving Tuesday now the next week. Obviously, donor fatigue is something to think about. We want to make sure people don't feel like we're treating them like they're ATM machines, or if you live in Wisconsin, a time machine. So we use that. We did benefit from that day kind of naturally, where some people simply gave because it was Giving Tuesday, but not because we were really promoting it. So we did do a lot of thank yous. We're going to be doing kind of a big gratitude day later on this month to kind of, again, break up those solicitations and kind of make sure that the thank yous are seen and felt by the people that support us. So it was really extremely successful for us. For any nonprofit, there are a couple of days that are really just tentpole event giving days. New Year's Eve is always a huge one, as much as it can be frustrating that you have to sit and wait until 10 p.m. to see if that $10,000 donor is going to make a gift. Or Giving Tuesday, the natural Giving Tuesday in November. And this day, if you combined this past year's Giving Tuesday and our New Year's Eve, that's about what it did. So the Gift from Home Day was extremely successful for us. So we're really glad that we participated in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fabulous. So clearly, Gift from Home Day shows that giving days can be extremely successful with nonprofits, and you guys are living testaments of it. So Paul, I want to go back to you, and I wanted to dive in a little bit about what nonprofits should consider before participating and why it might not be a good idea to participate.
Yeah, I would say my advice would be, take a look at what you're able to produce. If you've got a great marketing agency like TrueSense, shameless plug, I love these guys, then it makes it a lot easier. Scott kind of referred to it. It was the logo, a lot of the artwork, a lot of the creative messaging was done for us, and we just used added some complementary things to it. So when you have a great marketing agency, it makes it better. But if you can't manage it well, don't do it. If you can't really spend the time to check your links, to make sure it's multi-channel, that messaging and all the channels are the same. If you don't have clear messaging or the clear why behind it, if you don't have a compelling story, if it's not really going to motivate people to find out more at least, and then hopefully to give, don't do it. If you have, bad pictures or bad stories, you don't want to put a product out there that's mediocre. There's so much competition in the nonprofit space. We have to stand out. And so we really need to do things with excellence. That's one of the reasons, we gave from Scott kind of alluded to it too. I mean, getting out in front of people before #Giving Tuesday and standing out, but standing out with compelling stories, with great photos, with that multi-channel, that far reach, really helped us to stand apart from a lot of our competitors. And I love the other nonprofits, and they're doing great work, but we need funding too. And in order to get the funding, we've got to set ourselves apart. And so we've got to do this with excellence. It's got to be a clean product. The links have to work. Giving pages have to work. And if you can't really manage all that and check all that, I would say, maybe pass on this one and prepare for the next one.
Yeah, that couldn't be truer. There's so much competition for nonprofits lately, or just like in general, that if you put out something not so great, they're going to find a nonprofit in your local area that's doing it a lot better, and they're going to choose to donate to them. So that's a really great point. Scott, how about you?
Really similar thought process to what Paul shared, which is really, if you're going to do this, completely sell out. Make it a focus point for your messaging. You don't have to do it for very long. People don't necessarily plot a giving day a month in advance and put that on their schedule. But we usually try and do for something like this a 10-day run-up so that you catch one weekend at least. But make sure that everything looks the same across all platforms. Front page of your website, Lightbox, cover photos on social media. We added our logo to our signatures for 2 weeks across our organization. Work with media contacts to make sure they're telling the story and telling the story correctly. Yeah, if you're going to do this, don't do it halfway at all, because it's just not worth it. You'll get something, but you're not maximizing it, and people aren't feeling it. So 100%, I totally agree that if you're going to do it, you absolutely have to do it. The other thing is being thoughtful. I know some folks did Give from Home Day and also did Giving Tuesday now, and I just really feel like there, not only would there be donor fatigue and most likely reduced donations, but also I think that it just comes off a little bit as bad form. Having it pop up here and there, again, compelling reason. I think it's extremely successful, but I've seen you see donors in the comment section on, social media or whatnot, or you'll get that odd email back where they say, I just gave to you, I don't know why you're asking me again. So it's really, it's an art and a science, and walking that edge on letting people know about giving, because I'm sure that both Paul and Jason both know this. You'll send out, say, an e-blast or direct mail piece, and you'll get one message back saying, I'm sick of getting all of your emails. And then you'll get one other message back from a major donor saying, thanks for the extra reminder, I missed the first couple. So you don't always really know who's reading the first one and who's missing the first two, and that third one is the one that gets them moving. So again, art and a science, but a giving day allows you to go all out and almost be slightly overwhelming with your messaging, because there's a point and a reason to it, without people necessarily pushing back as much.
Yeah, agree. And Jason, I'm sure in your experience, I'm sure you've seen, some nonprofits do this right and some profits do this wrong. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts.
Yeah, I sure have. And I think from a donor fatigue perspective, the idea that you're going to have a marketing blitz or an all-out marketing impact effort where you're not leveraging the ability to figure out on the fly, especially from an online perspective, who just donated, can I suppress them from my next ask? Can I make sure they're included in my acknowledgement and my stewardship pieces, is critical. And to what Scott said, if they haven't donated and they need that third reminder because that's the one they open, that's the one that they pay attention to, that's fine. When they do, if you have the time and effort and most importantly, the ability to suppress from that next ask until the day or campaign is over, is absolutely critical. And the biggest harm I see is a significant rise in unsubscribes, which now with privacy laws changing is more than just an email that we can send out. So that's, recognizing and being able to communicate with the donor and the speed with which can recognize that they made a gift, or leveraging language to say, if you made a gift and we included you in this one, we're sorry. Those are critical for some of the success. I think the biggest thing I see and have seen over the years is that, on one hand, digital fundraising is continuing to pay the price for comments and thinking from 10 plus years ago, which is, if we turn it on, the money's just going to flow in. And that's not the way it works. And so these giving days are just, to an extent, like galas and events. There's a lot of work and effort that goes into pulling off a 5K or an annual gala or a banquet. There's a lot of effort and time that goes into pulling off giving days. It's shorter. Maybe it's easier because you're not buying all the t-shirts or the running bibs or, worrying about the food, but you're still putting time and effort, like Scott and Paul mentioned. What are my social cover images? What's my donation form look like? Is my autoresponder set up? Are my organic and pay? So all of that time and effort is what really separates the truly successful organizations when it comes to giving days versus those that have a little bit of a bump over the transom organically, and it will cause them, and you see it with Giving Tuesday, for folks to say, it was okay. those that really put the time and effort in to get that reward with regards to online donors and donations and mentions and exposures to the work that these organizations are actually doing.
Love it. All right, so I like to end my podcast with a very complicated question. So Scott, I'm gonna start with you. If there's one piece of advice you could give to nonprofits, what would it be?
Well, considering it's probably been laced into every answer I've given so far, it has to do with my background. I would say that visibility, brand, and image are extremely important to a nonprofit to be able to compel donors to make larger gifts or new donors to get involved and aware of what you do. There are a lot of nonprofits out there, and my experience and my opinion is that everyone loves an underdog. You know, the smaller nonprofit or the nonprofit that might be struggling a little bit, but donors invest in what would be considered a winner, and being able to show that you're effective and that you will be there for a long time and that you make an impact, like a true impact, is the difference between, say, a $100 donation or a $10,000 investment from the same person. I really feel that being constantly in the media, having marketing throughout the course of the year, nonprofits don't take enough advantage of media's need to be able to serve the community to keep their licenses. And over the course of the year, we constantly do a new coat of paint for programs and always involve media partners to make sure that people know about it, because if you do something and nobody knows about it, it's not going to be nearly as impactful. So making relationships with local media, having media partners for any campaign, event, for us food drives, you will always get somebody who's interested in giving you free promotion. You create those relationships where, for example, during COVID right now, I can't tell you how much free advertising I'm getting from partners that we've been working with for the last couple of years. So it's so important that your marketing team and your fundraising team is on the same page and not afraid to utilize marketing to help drive interest in the nonprofit. If people see you everywhere, if they see you on TV, if you have, for us, we have trucks. So if our trucks look good, they look sharp, people will remember it. It gives the impression of success, being impactful, being large, being blue chip. And those are the places that people will make larger investments in. So creating an image of size and success is extremely important. And it's not that hard if you're willing to focus on it and you're not afraid of it.
Yes. Branding definitely matters. And a lot of donors in general typically like to see organizations with a consistent branding, image, and messaging. So really great advice. Paul, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the brand image, and along with that too is brand language. You know, everyone at your front desk, your case managers, people on the front lines, the maintenance personnel, you know, do they speak the same language? And spending the time to build that culture internally, that you're all on the same page, but you all need to speak the same language too, makes a difference. I don't know how many times, you know, I've worn a logoed shirt at my local Home Depot, or, you know, somewhere I'm out in the store and somebody stops me and says, "Oh, you work for City Gospel Mission," and we have a moment, you know, I get to share a story. Then I come back and run them through Wealth Engine to find out their capacity. But, you know, it's that brand language is really important when you're duplicating your message out there. And if we have 100 staff, and so if 100 staff are out there having discussions and duplicating that message, you know, that's free advertising. Mm-hmm. So brand language, along with brand image, I think is very important. And kind of along with that is creating a culture of philanthropy. You know, when a case manager comes to us and says, "Hey, I think I have a $10,000 donor," you know, say we'll take it from here. But that's amazing when other people have that the antennas to know how to have those basic conversations and get their foot in the door so that we can do the follow-up conversations. It's amazing when you have a staff that knows the work of development, knows how important it is, and wants to assist in small ways. They want to show up. They want to get baskets for the silent auction, or they want to tell people or advertise about the next event, or even advertise about hashtag Gift from Home Day. That culture of philanthropy and being able to spread the word to their networks becomes very advantageous and supportive. Feel like they're an extension of the development department. And the last thing I would say is, and maybe the most important is, I think nonprofits continually have to have capacity to experiment. And Jason knows this well because we have these discussions all the time between us and TrueSense. Is how do we take a risk here? It's calculated risk. I don't want to jeopardize, funding over things, but what can we do to stand out? What can we do to create a new message? Is there a new tool out there? Does YouTube TrueView really work? And can we tell a succession of 3 different stories on something like that? Should we even try it? But having those discussions about trying something new, taking risks, how do we stand out? I can tell you that I have probably 8 failures out of every 2 successes, so I'm batting about 20%. But that 20% are new, innovative ways to connect with donors that feel fresh to them, and they get excited about a new technology that speaks to them, or a new way of storytelling. Or sometimes it's just getting local experts in and saying, the colors on your website are terrible. Well, okay, let's do an A/B testing and just subtly change the colors and see if that. I've heard nonprofits tell about how their revenue went up 40% because they changed the font on their homepage. I mean, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So I would say create the capacity to be inventive, to be creative, to experiment, to ask some local experts, marketing experts and things too. What do you think about us? How can we stand out?
Yeah. And it would definitely, like, having those creative touches and unique touches are really going to help them stand out too. And finally, Jason, tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Complete agreement with what Scott and Paul have been sharing, and find myself fortunate that I come from a nonprofit background before being with TrueSense. And I think the biggest thing for me is don't be afraid to be visual. And while brand and marketing and impact is so critical, I think just being on camera and leveraging 1 minute of, Facebook Live or being on LinkedIn and just uploading a video matters so much to be able to show the impact and the mission. And it's interesting because I've talked to that for years with folks. Hey, try this, do this. It's daunting. I'll be honest. I did one on my phone, just standing in front of an empty building on Gift from Home Day, and I just wanted to put it on LinkedIn. And I'll be honest, for an hour and a half, I was like, "Oh, this is awful." I said too many times, and does this even? But as soon as I uploaded it, so I took myself out of do what I say, not what I do. I actually did what I've been saying for so long. As soon as I uploaded it, the number of people reaching out saying, "Hey, that was really cool. That was a great," it all went away. And it really has resonated with me watching some of the stuff that Paul has put out. He uses an app, View Spark, where he's doing 1 and 2 minute videos. And he literally showed me what it is like to have the individuals they serve at the mission have to sit 6 feet apart to get a meal. And until I could have that visual, I couldn't understand. And it was 1 minute, Paul, I don't remember anything other than the visual you showed. I don't know the words you spoke or what you looked like, if you wore your golf shirt or not, but I had that immediate visual. And all of a sudden, as somebody who's a partner, I want to do better. I want to do more. I want to do everything I can to lift up their mission. And I think that simple thing translates with volunteers and board members and donors. I hope that as we come out of this, I've loved working with teams in Zoom the last month and a half. I really have. And seeing everybody's face on screen and quickly sharing, I think it's made us a workforce and a society that has embraced this because we've had no choice. And so if we can take that a step further, and hopefully if anybody hears this with the thinking of, I don't want to be on camera, you have a story, you have an impact to share. And I think it really matters. And I think the folks that you share that with will enjoy seeing the work that you do, and then be willing to share your impact with their circle and their friends. So that's the number one thing that I've learned through this. It's not as easy as I've made it sound, and yet after the 2 hours of thinking about should I do this or not, actually doing it has led me down the path of I need to do more of this. I need to show visual video work of what's taken place.
Yeah. Putting yourself out there, definitely, even though it's scary and you're making yourself vulnerable, people are going to receive it better than you think. I feel like, especially in the nonprofit sector, people are a lot more forgiving. And I've talked to a lot of organizations recently talking about messaging and what you should say right now. And we talk about videos all the time. Just putting 1-2 short videos that are like 1 or 2 minutes long, just talking to your community, addressing the situation and telling them how you're handling things is going to be better in the long run for relationship building.
And smartphones do a great job of video and quality.
Really high quality, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't necessarily want polished either because they know that it's rehearsed and it's not in the moment.
There's something really raw and real and emotional about just a quickly put together video. It doesn't have to be perfect because then it's going to look like a commercial. It's going to look like embellished. So that about wraps it up for today's episode. First, I want to thank all of our listeners for listening in on today's podcast. And of course, Paul, Scott, Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on the Nonprofit Voice. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights on Giving Days.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to share.
Of course. Happy to have you guys anytime. And so on behalf of Nonprofit Pro, we will see you on the next episode of the Nonprofit Voice. Have a great day.